My Little Pony creep fans, and welcome to another creep tale from Beyond Death. This story was actually inspired by my boyfriend. We had just finished watching a scary movie called House of Wax. And I want to apologize if it's hard to hear me. I had just recently gotten over a sickness, so try to bear with me, okay? Here we go. Blood Candy pulled her seatbelt over her chest and started the car. She twists the knob on the radio and hears that her favorite tune is on, so she begins shuffling and dancing in her seat while puttering down the road. Not too long after her song ending did she realize that while she was enjoying her music, she must have taken a wrong turn somewhere along the way. She was going to see her sister in Ponyville, but this couldn't be where she was. Blood Candy steps out of her car after unlatching her seatbelt. What is this place?" she whispers. As she looked around, more and more fog seemed to be appearing, covering everything except for a small bit of road in front of her. She goes to get back in her car when, out of a cloud of fog, she sees someone. "Hello? Can you help me?" She stood for a few moments, just staring, awaiting an answer. "Please, I don't know if I'm in Ponyville," she slightly shouted. When the strange pony heard this, it started quietly laughing and beckoned her to follow it. They began walking through the fog. Little did she know this was the last thing she should have done. As they walked away, a silent crowd gathered around her car and stood there for a moment. When they dispersed, the car had no longer been there, and almost as if on cue, the fog lifts ever so slightly, everything still just barely visible, so much so that she actually bumped into a building while following this still chuckling figure. Blood Candy felt a chill run down her spine as they approached a house. She was familiar with this house. This can't be. The figure walked up to the side of the door and gestures a shadowy hoof inside. She slowly approaches the doorway, and as she does, the shadow pony seemed to disappear. She stops and stands in shock for a moment, forgetting why she was there, then composes herself enough to go inside. She enters and is immediately greeted with the smell of rot and decay, followed by what smelled like burnt flesh. She continues slowly walking up to the stairwell and noticed a change in the air. Now it smelled like blood that had been sitting in the sun for a while. Point is it was awful. She turns toward what appeared to be the kitchen, and what she was met with was her sister. She had burned her entire head in the oven, and it looked as though she had done it by choice. The chill that had ran down her spine earlier is now like her blood was ice water, continuously flowing, chilling her right to her core. But something told her to keep going, so she knew where to go next. Upstairs. Keeping in mind what she had saw in the kitchen, she ascended the stairs slowly and cautiously, noticing every blood pool along the way. What are all these pools of blood from? She wonders. She approaches the bathroom and sees that the bathroom door is cracked just enough to take a peek. And so she does. She sees a body hunched awkwardly against the mirror and blood staining the counter. Something called to her. "Open the door." Something whispers. She jumps, yelping slightly. "Who's there?" she yells, fruitlessly. Still unsettled, she opened the door, unsure at this point if it was happening by her own hand. The sight was truly brutal. And this time, it was her aunt. She had run a razor blade across her mouth and throat, her blood covering everything in front of her. Though a traumatizing sight, something kept her investigating. Unknown to Blood Candy, the fog outside had lifted, and it was now pouring rain. This is where things get troubling, to say the least. Blood Candy was finishing up when all of a sudden she had heard a loud thump from outside and across the street. When she had approached the doorway and looked outside, she saw an entire town of corpses. The thump she had heard was a pony plummeting from the top of a building. And as she continued down the bizarrely bloody road, full of twisted remains and mangled bodies, reanimating and reenacting their truly baffling deaths, she had came to notice a feeling. She didn't know what it was, but it was making her lose focus. It made her forget why she came to this town. It started changing her thoughts. Join us. Join us. Join us. The voice getting louder now, so loud she can barely hear herself think. Then out of nowhere, it stops, and her blood now felt like solid ice in her veins, and an unnatural smile broke out across her face. She walks to the nearest, tallest building, looking down, and with tears streaming down her twisted, smiling face, she jumps. Once she did this, she was now able to see what the town truly looked like. Ponies hanging from streetlights. Some ponies that had hurled themselves off a building, like herself. And other ponies horribly mangled and torn apart by each other. All of them having this unnatural smile. She wasn't sure what caused this, but she wanted it to stop. She wanted to leave the nightmare she had appeared to be in. Then she found herself on top of the building again, and could see it was affecting the whole town. And as she thought this, she felt herself jump again, feeling every bit of the fall and the agony this time, the crushing bones, the spilling blood, her entrails leaving her body as they spread on the ground when she meets the sidewalk. And as she hits this time, the rain stopped falling, and she stood a shadow in the fog of Suicide City. The end. And that is the end of my story, Suicide City. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was just kind of a little creepy tale that I came up with. It didn't really take me long to write it, but at the same time I did put hard work into it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed what I came up with, and keep watching my channel if you like what you see. Thanks again. Have a good one, guys.